Hello, everyone, and welcome to another DCU Daily. I screwed up already because that's what happens whenever I come in first. So here we are. We're doing DCU Daily today to end the week. We have, oh my God, we have so much. This is probably going to be a 3-hour show if we're lucky. So we have tons of Marvel news in regards to reveals, rumors, and casting and all sorts of stuff in regards to not only Thunderbolts but Fantastic Four stuff in the future, possibly X-Men stuff, maybe. Bunch of quick hits that hopefully won't last 45 minutes regarding Caleb's constant comments. And then of course DCU news, the biggest thing of course being Peacemaker. The season 2 teaser dropped today, and we finally got some proper looks at a certain gang that we've wanted to get a proper look at for a while now. So we have that, as well as a bunch of interviews and comic news. But why don't we get our boy Ryan Gosling up in this bitch and tell us all about the news and how he's Knuff.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always the number 2.
Mr. I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that.
You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I just realized that the music has been on this whole time because, again, this is what happens. All right, Dan, get the fuck in here. Like, here we are. Dan, why don't you start talking?
Yeah. Well, hello, everybody. I am also here. Yesterday I did a solo show, but we're back at it again. Yeah, a lot to talk about. We've got a bunch of Marvel news. There's a lot of new stuff with Doomsday, as well as, of course, on Thunderbolts, aka the new Avengers. There's a new poster out there. Florence Pugh picked an Avengers team for herself, so we'll talk about that, I'm sure. Ironheart has a new trailer, like a new teaser trailer out there. I know that's probably not the one you're clicking onto this video to watch, so we will talk about Peacemaker. Trust me, we will definitely talk a lot about Peacemaker. So many big reveals in that teaser as well. So we've got that, and then of course we've got the quick hits, a bunch of random things like Final Destination. If you go to 4DX, there's the experience might be a little more dangerous than what you might have anticipated. There's like a promo out there. We'll get into the business of Hollywood. Tom Rothman, the head of Sony Pictures, just got a new deal. He's going to be around for a lot longer. So we've got a bunch more, of course, beyond that. To do that, of course, John, you already are on the show. So usually this is where I would introduce you, but let's just dive into the news, shall we? So the very first thing I wanted to discuss was basically, Florence Pugh, who's of course in the new Avengers, aka Thunderbolts movie. She was recently asked, hey, if you had to pick an Avengers team, who would you put on that team? I assume this means it's a team that already includes her, but then who else would be on there as well? And these are the people she picked out. You've got Black Widow, you've got Tom Holland Spider-Man, you've got, of course, Bruce Banner's Hulk, and, of course, Sebastian Stan playing the Winter Soldier. So, a bit of a family affair. You got two sisters there, or stepsisters, whatever. Spider-Man, gives you quite a bit of flexibility. The Hulk, he's the muscle. Also, you could call that a family affair, depending on, if Natasha had stuck around and Bruce, de-hulked himself, which I guess he did, but, if you watch the end of Shang-Chi. And then, Sebastian Stan, the dude's like 160 years old. So he gives you the age factor, the wisdom, as it were. John, what are your thoughts on this team that Florence Pugh would put together if she was asked to make her own Avengers unit? Which, hey, to be fair, one of these characters doesn't exist. The other one most people don't remember. And the Hulk, I don't know if that version of the Hulk exists anymore, but what are your thoughts overall?
I love how her team only has one of the people that's on the actual team she's on, which is like, it's got to feel real shitty for like Red Guardian and Sentry and all those other guys that are part of the new Avengers that are like, well, what the fuck? You have this dead bitch that's not even around anymore, yet you don't have me.
Right dude is here. He was the first one in the chat saying, won't be long, I'm about to see Clown in the Cornfield. John saw Clown in the Cornfield. We'll review that next week when Liz is back on the show. But yeah, I mean, you got a bunch of ads playing, so thank you for tuning in while you wait. Of course, you're welcome to check back in and watch the rest of the show afterwards. You might still be live by the time the movie starts for you, or like by the time your movie finishes. Manos Time is also here. Bright dude saying that I've got my tickets to see Final Destination Bloodlines next Friday with my fiance. That is awesome, man. I don't know if you're recently engaged or not, but congratulations if you are. And then, of course, Final Destination Bloodlines. We'll be talking about that on the show as well. So good luck with that. It's Mochi is here as well saying, what's up? Well, what's up to you, Mochi? What are you in the mood for talking about today? I'm sure we already have it on the list of many topics. Manos Time saying, by the way, John, I've seen the new Final Destination. Not my favorite of the franchise, but it was really fun. So there you go. Not spoiling it for Right Dude, but yeah, that's it seems like it didn't quite hit you all that well, but maybe Right Dude will walk into the movie and love it. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right, so let's keep the ball rolling here, John. The next thing, we've got a few more Marvel things to talk about. Nate Moore, in case you guys don't remember, I think this was fairly recent. He was on a red carpet and he was asked about, when do you think we're going to get Black Panther 3? And basically his response was, it's not coming out before Avengers Doomsday. That's the next big thing we're focusing on. But yeah, we'll get back to that, part of the world, to Wakanda, as soon as we can. John, are you surprised that they're not in a rush to do the third movie? Obviously, Ryan Coogler, the director, is busy doing other things as well. And he was a big part of the Ironheart series we're going to be talking about in a minute. So are you surprised that we're going to have to wait a little while to get Wakanda, Black Panther 3, I should say?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be probably a few years because we got 2 Avengers movies on the way, all the way till 2027. So I imagine not until 2028 at least. There was another rumor. Now, I don't know if we have talked about this before. I think Liz mentioned it, but we haven't really officially discussed this. Patrick Schwarzenegger is reportedly being considered for a role in a Marvel Studios X-Men film. Now, of course, we've talked about how they've got a script. Kevin Feige, has made it a pretty big priority. Obviously, it's not something we're going to see until after the upcoming 2 Avengers movies, John. But with regards to what role Patrick could take on, do you have any clues as to which of the X-Men characters he might be portraying if he were cast in the X-Men film from Marvel?
From this shot and from what little I have seen of his acting prowess, he looks like Cyclops. Like right here, like just put like goggles on him and he's Cyclops. Like that's like the most perfect thing you could possibly do. Now I can't imagine. I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do with Wolverine. Hugh Jackman might stick around. He might not. I don't know. But that right there, he kind of looks like Cyclops. So I could see that. I could maybe see a couple other characters. But for right now, that's I mean, he could be like, if if Channing Tatum is like, he might show up in like Doomsday and Secret Wars, but then he might get killed off or whatever the hell. Oh yeah, I mean, we knew that. But he could maybe be a good Gambit. But whatever it is, nice. Okay. I think he would do a good job and he would rock it. I think from what I know of him, he's very good at what he does. So I think he can definitely pull off whatever he needs to do. Yes, Jared Keeso. Yeah, it's a Keeso, not Kesso. But yes, I know Jared Keeso from Letterkenny. That dude, like, was born to play Wolverine. Like, perfect casting.
I don't know. I feel like Henry Cavill's right there, you know. But he's probably also very busy. Yeah, but hey, Patrick Schwarzenegger. Speaking of the comments, though, John, we do have, as you saw on the screen, Kevin and Figuredoring in the chat. So welcome on in, guys. Kevin saying Marvel Studios will bounce back with Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars at the box office. Yeah, I mean, you know what? They might bounce back with the Fantastic Four movie. You never know. Depending on how well it does, of course. Manos suggesting maybe even Taron Egerton could be a great Wolverine. Yeah, I mean, he's also another option. I guess it all depends on age profile, how comic accurate you want to go. Do you want to get a short Wolverine? Do you want to stick to, something like what we got with Hugh Jackman, who's obviously not that profile? But yesterday, John, when you weren't on the show, I figured let's bring this up and talk about it. So the folks watching, we had a conversation about David Goyer wanting to do a Blade movie, but I just wanted to kind of bring this up again because I want to get your opinion on this. And David Goyer recently was being interviewed by Screen Rant, and they simply asked him, would you write a MCU Blade movie? And David S. Goyer, who, if you guys remember, he's worked on the Dark Knight trilogy. I think he wrote Batman Begins. He was consulting on the other two of the few sequels in the Dark Knight trilogy. And then he, of course, wrote the script for Man of Steel. He did write several of the earlier Blade movies, including Blade Trinity, which is like the big,
just don't have him direct the movie, and we should be fine. Like, just don't have him direct it.
Right, cool. Exactly. But I mean, basically what he said in response to the question was, yeah, I mean, would you write Blade? Yes, I would. David Goyer said, I always loved the character and I love him. And I've been sitting on the sidelines wondering what in the world is going on. I'm a huge Marvel
think that's
fan.
What most people have been thinking. Guy who fights vampires can't figure it out, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, he's totally puzzled, but he said, like, hey,
give me a fucking call.
Give me a call. I'll answer the phone.
I mean, I could see that working. I think David S. Goyer is a little too, like, out of the jurisdiction of MCU and what they like to do, since David S. Goyer is not really the type of person to play things in the play things safe in the playground of the MCU. Definitely doesn't seem like that. However, hello, main man. Honestly, David S. Goyer is pretty hit and miss for me. But considering that 2/3 of the Blade movies were really good, I would say give him another chance. I think it would be more suited and have it come full circle if he wrote like a old man Blade with Wesley Snipes movie. I think that would be kind of cool, like, just a full circle moment. But like, honestly, just like at this point, get him on board, because like, it's like they can't figure this shit out. Get the guy who originally did it. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah. We also just got 5Ash in the chat. Hello, 5Ash. And of course, Main Man Fan is here. Happy Friday to you as well, Main Man. And Marco Ramos is here as well. Hello, Marco. Saying hi, guys. Hello, Marco. Old Man Blade gets himself a nice hemorrhoid massage. Okay, 5Ash. All right. Already up to your usual antics. Man of Time, I should say, saying that David S. Goyer wrote Man of Steel and BVS. Not my style of movies, but people would be hyped. He didn't. Did he write Did he write BVS?
He did. He wrote BVS, but then they brought in Chris Terrio to essentially do a rewrite.
Okay,
yeah, and then Chris Terrio wrote Justice League.
For it, but
yeah.
But anyway, all right, moving on to the next thing. By the way, guys, I see a lot of you guys in the chat. Hit that like button while you're here. We do appreciate that. We've got a few more Marvel things to get into before we get into the DC stuff. Of course, we will talk about Peacemaker ad nauseum, and we've got some Superman updates, Lantern updates as well. But as far as the Thunderbolts go, John, the co-writer Eric Pearson revealed there was a few scrapped ideas for the movie, which ultimately didn't make the final cut. I'm just gonna go through a few of these. You let me know if any of these stand out to you. Apparently, in one of the ideas, Bill Foster would have become Goliath. He, of course, is connected to the Ghost character in the movie from the Ant-Man films. Scarlett Johansson might have returned, actually, during the Voight sequence. That's interesting. Obviously, probably not for reals. It's like, as like, I guess, a ghost or whatever you would call that. A figment of maybe Yelena's imagination.
That would have
John
been
Walker
really...
potentially
That would have been fucking stupid. I think at this point... that would have been a thing of desperation. I feel like Marvel is so desperate for this guy to like be this like evil villain, when it's like, looking back on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, this dude was like just a living straw man argument. Like, this guy's clearly evil. And yet if you like any sort of evidence. It's like, no, it's just Bucky and Sam were fucking pricks for no reason, and he was like doing the best he could, and everyone completely fucked him every which way from sideways. So like I think that just comes to like as a desperation move of like, we got to make this guy a villain, and because they failed miserably on Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Well, but I mean,
so
obviously
now he's redeemed here, even though he didn't
Yeah.
really need redemption in the fucking first place, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, we got just some geeky guy in the chat as well. Hello, just some geeky guy already dropping in a super chat. We always appreciate those. But John, what do you think about the idea of adamantium being used as a plot point? I'm guessing
It would have made more sense here than in fucking Captain America.
but I'm guessing the reason why it wasn't used there is because it was used in Captain America, which is would be weird to then kind of double up on that. I mean, unless you had, you know, something related to adamantium more directly, which none of these characters quite connect that way. But yeah, they probably also would have not killed off Taskmaster in a version of the movie. Remember, the reason why they did it, according to the director, was because they, you know, didn't want to have nobody die in the movie. So like, it might as well be
Yeah, what is
Taskmaster, I
this?
suppose.
What is this? David Ayer's Suicide Squad? Come on now.
Dude, they killed Slipknot in that movie. Anyway, sorry. The story would have potentially taken place entirely in the vault, which, you know what? If they did that, then they should have really leaned into that whole A24 style of marketing, because that would have been perfect. Like, they could have made the movie for a much smaller budget. It would have been a one location. I would love to see a one location, $50 million Marvel movie where they don't leave like the one place, like whether it's the vault or whatever you want to call it. Maybe, you know what is that big raft prison that they have like in the middle of the ocean? They should do like a movie that just takes place entirely on the raft. Like, there's enough stuff, like, you know, like the Doom game turned into a video, the video game turned into the movie, like, you know, where you're just on one location the whole time and make it some kind of like a horror thriller thing. I would love that. Main man fan is Team John, by the way. A-bomb was Rick Jones, says just some geeky guy. All right, you guys are getting into it in the chat already, so love that. Just some geeky guys, super chat though. If Fantastic Four, Doomsday, Spider-Man, Brand New Day, and Secret Wars are all bangers back to back, then is the MCU truly back? John, what are your thoughts on that one?
No.
Yeah, poor Slipknot, main man. Yeah, you know what, Marco's diehard in Marvel. That's exactly what I was pitching earlier. But to answer just some geeky guys' question, I think if they get, like, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 movies in a row that are absolute bangers, and they're all $1 billion or close to it movies, I'm sure like 3 out of those 4 are going to be $1 billion movies, because the only one that I have a doubt about is Fantastic Four. The last 2 Spider-Man movies made $1 billion. The last one made almost $2 billion. Of course, the previous 2 Avengers movies both made over $1 billion. One of them made over $2 billion. So I think only Fantastic Four is more of a question mark, and even that comes out in the summer months, and it comes out after Superman, so it has a slightly, you know, better runway ahead of it. So yeah, if all of those movies hit, then yeah, maybe you could say that they're back. It also depends on the kind of stories those are. If those are like member-berry, leaning on nostalgia stories, because I think right now what the MCU needs is like a long-term focus on building something like what they were doing back when they first started. Not just doing these like one-offs. Like Deadpool and Wolverine, you know, fun to watch. Does it have a lasting value? Like that does it have a lot of connective tissue to it? Is that the kind of movie you want to see 5 times? I don't know, you know. But the last thing on the last idea from Thunderbolts that they left on the cutting room floor was each member having their own shame room in the void, which I feel like would have been just too much. So anyway. But
Yeah.
in other new Avengers, aka Thunderbolts news, John, they just put out a new poster which eerily resembles the Avengers Endgame poster, where what you
I don't even
basically
remember
saw,
this poster.
like, this was one of those like alternate posters. It wasn't like the primary poster,
Right.
But basically, what you see are like the 6 characters that were like featured mainly in Avengers Endgame because everybody else got snapped, and then the 6 shadows are 6 of the characters that did get snapped, including like the Winter Soldier you see there with the machine gun and stuff, and Wanda on the left, Black Panther and stuff. So now what they've done here is pretty much the new Avengers poster. They sort of replicated that. You've got Thunderbolts clearly there. You got, you know, Yelena, Red Guardian, Ghost, Bucky, US Agent, everybody, and Sent Bob, you know, at the back. But you see the shadows are those 6 characters that were previously walking in the other poster. So you've got Thor with the with not Mjolnir, but Stormbreaker. You've got Chris Evans, Captain America, Iron Man, Natasha, of course, in line with Yelena. Then I'm guessing that's the Hulk, and Hawkeye, I think, is the one on the far left. So, care to comment on again? Emphasizing these are the new Avengers. The logo looks slightly different. The asterisk has moved to a new part of the logo.
Yeah. I think that's all kind of done on purpose and all that. So yeah, it's cool, I guess.
Cool. All right. Move on to the next thing. Another, Thunderbolts related thing. Apparently, they've now also in the comics come out with variant covers. So previously, those covers had Thunderbolts. Now they say New Avengers. So again, doing the same thing in the comics that they were doing or they have been doing for the movie itself. So, yeah, I guess that works. In this
Please
case,
read the comics.
And Carnage. Sorry, you were saying?
No, it's like, please read our comics. I swear we have good stuff outside of Ultimates. We swear. And it's like, sure, buddy. Okay.
Well, covers are nice.
All right, come on, Grandpa. Let's go back to the nursing home. I remember when Marvel was good.
Well, speaking of when Marvel was good, Mystique, of course, Rebecca Romijn is coming back in the role. And according to Marvel now, her character Mystique won't be as scantily clad as she was in the X-Men movies of back in the day. And her husband, which surprisingly Jerry O'Connell was like, damn it, I guess he liked that look. So there you go.
Yeah, like that's a fucking great look. But it's like at the same time, Jerry, you're porking that. You could see her naked all you fucking want. We're all fucked. Come on.
Your thoughts on the look that they're probably...
Here's the thing. I will say that was a really fucking cool look. It showed like a lot of... I understand it's like the easy... we see her naked. But it's like it showcased like who she was as a character. She didn't care. She was letting... Well, one, she was a shapeshifter. So there was that aspect as well where she didn't want to like have any like clothes that would stop her from shapeshifting properly. 2, it showed she didn't give a fuck. 3, it showed that she was, mutant and proud. And 4, it was like it kind of teased some aspects with like the comic version of the character, which is more like this like centuries, maybe millennia old like being. So that was definitely really cool. And it like, because I mean Mystique was like kind of hard. I feel like back then was kind of hard to make look right because she was just blue and like them, but like had, I feel like at the time it would have like looked weird. Maybe it just wouldn't have looked as good. But I mean, look at Jennifer Lawrence in Dark Phoenix. They went with a very comic accurate look there and it looked like dog shit. So I have a strong feeling that they're going to go with the more like kind of sort of comic accurate look where she probably has the white, like go to the next image. But where it's like the white and the, Bob and I don't think they're going to have the skeletons as the belt, but like it's probably going to be more of like a onesie, kind of like what She-Hulk wears, where it's like a white onesie. She's going to maybe have the gloves and then be a little bit more comic accurate then. It's probably going to be a mix of like the scales, the slicked back hair, and like all that, but she's probably just going to be wearing like the white like onesie unitard type thing. So I think it'll probably look fine. It's just like, damn, oh well. But I mean, Marvel likes to sanitize stuff, so that's kind of par for the course a little bit.
I mean, come on, it's Disney, right? Like a 4-quadrant movie. Not that those previous movies were rated R or anything. By the way, Monique in the chat. Hello, Monique. How are you doing today? Let's move on to the next story, John. I'll be back on camera in a second. Give me a moment. But
okay.
Your thoughts on Brad Vanderbaum talking about the storylines you'd like to see in season 3. He said, I love that big global conspiracy stuff. I feel like there might be stuff to do there. Would you like to see the Hand and the Assassin's Guild in season 3 of Daredevil?
as long as it's done better than what they did in season 2 of Daredevil, then it should be fine. Which I don't have any hope for because it's like considering that Born Again is pretty much the worst season of the 4. I can't really see that happening unless it's like fully divorced of like, well, because I know this one suffered from, the reshoots were obvious. They had to like change a lot of course and all that. So as long as like you can do better than like the second half of season 2, which was not very good, then I would say go for it. But at the same time, I'm like, we've done the Hand before. I understand like he's doing the black Daredevil suit, so they might be teasing Shadowlands, but it just feels like a bit repetitive. Like, here's the thing. And I'm saying that like as someone who loves season 1 and 3, but at least with like season 3, they kind of adapted Born Again, like the actual comic Born Again, not like calling the show Born Again, even though it has nothing to do with the comic it's based on. But well, it's not based on at all. It's just, oh look, he's born again. Get it? It's a reboot. Ha ha ha. But I think like just there's so many like storylines, so many great storylines you can do in the comics that don't involve the Hand and don't involve like grand conspiracies, which can be done, don't get me wrong, can be done right. It's just I would say stick to the best things that worked in Born Again and like just kind of double down on those aspects and get rid of all the stuff. I mean, it's the worst season. Like I could tell you, like season 2 was not very good, but like I mean, it's not really the Born Again story. They just used the title of it. They didn't really adapt it. But I want them to like try new things. Like we've done Kingpin 3 times now. Now we're getting to the point of like Superman only fighting General Zod and Lex Luthor on the big screen. Like there's other villains, there's other great villains you can use. Let's try to do those, please. That's essentially what I'm saying. And we've already seen the Hand, so like I would say just kind of move on a little bit. What are your thoughts on the rumor that Doom will deceive them to think he's a good guy because he resembles Tony, only to betray them in the end? That sounds really fucking stupid. But I know they're gonna do the whole Tony thing, and it's just like that's why I think Doomsday is gonna fucking suck, because they're gonna lean in on like, oh, he looks like Tony Stark, and it's gonna be stupid. But at least with Secret Wars, hopefully they adapt enough of the original stories that they'll, make it work. But
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that rumor feels like the obvious thing to do. I don't think that deception, if they are going in that direction, they'll be doing that for the whole movie. It's probably something where like the ruse is up pretty early on, and then we move past it, because otherwise it's just too much of a gimmick. Like when in screenwriting class you'll get told the first 10 ideas that come to your mind, throw them away and then focus on the next one after it, right? It's like that feels like the second idea that probably came to mind, and they just run with it, then that's probably not the best one. It's just very cliche. Like we don't need that. We really don't need that. All right, so a couple of more things from Marvel before we have a couple of trailers after this to talk about as well. But David Dastmalchian, who of course is both a veteran of Marvel and DC, he was on a red carpet for Apple TV recently, and he pitched like, hey, he's got an idea for a new Fantastic Four movie. What about just like, maybe do the Fantabulous Five and add Web in it, like like VEB Web. It's John. What do you think about the Fantabulous Five? Would you like to see the Fantastic Four plus Web? Web.
What's Web? I don't even know what the fuck that is.
Isn't that one of the characters from Ant-Man? Like the third one?
Oh, I don't fucking know.
Like with Quantumania? I think that's what I thought it was.
Oh, no wonder I don't give a shit. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I like him a lot. I mean, this man has been like in a dozen comic book roles, and he's always nailed every single one of them. So like even on dumber ones like The Flash and Polka Dot Man, like he makes it work. he understands the assignment, as the kids would say. So if that means seeing more of him, sure, but I don't think this would ever happen. Sorry.
Yeah, so David Desmalkian, even though his usual Ant-Man character wasn't in Quantumania, he voiced the character of Web, which is entirely animated. So he's like, yeah, just add me in there. Which I'm sure he's just having fun with it. You know what? Also, Disney seems to be having fun with this mural, this whole poster they painted on the side of one of the buildings in LA. Because you see now, this is like the 4th time they've basically vandalized their own poster. It initially started out with the whole cereal box Thunderbolts logo and poster, but then they replaced it with the new Avengers logo. And then, of course, they had Stitch bursting through it. And now somebody's gone in, probably Disney themselves, gone in and replaced that with what it looks like, John. Maybe a hint at we also get a hint at what Galactus is going to look like, because that looks like Galactus. Is that Galactus bursting through the poster in front of Stitch? So we're just looking ahead to Fantastic Four already, considering, Lilo and Stitch is still a few weeks away. But I can't tell if this is Photoshop or for real. Somebody from LA, let us know if this is real.
I'm going to take a wild guess that it's probably not, but that would be kind of funny if they did that. Like, just rent out this fucking space for like 3 whole months. Like, you have it for Thunderbolts, you have it for Lilo and Stitch, and then you have it for Fantastic Four. Like, all right, that's probably cheaper than just like having like, I don't know, just different ones everywhere, just like use the same one over and over again. All right, I could see that working. Cheap maybe, but creative nonetheless.
Yeah, fair enough. Figuring that a question for you though, John. You aren't fond of Infinity War or Endgame, so of all the movies since then, which ones do you like?
Good question. Since then?
Since Endgame, I guess. Yeah.
Since Endgame, I mean the only ones so which ones have I seen? I saw No Way Home. I liked that. I know that doesn't. I know many people have said that has little rewatch value, but I liked it. I saw it twice in the theater. I thought Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was good, but I feel like it does suffer from some of the more conventional Marvel-isms. And High Evolutionary was a villain that was almost great. It was like he was so close to being great, and then they just kind of dropped the ball a little bit with him. Like I get like, oh, the rocket stuff. The rocket stuff is really good. Like, yeah, but like I feel like a lot of the other stuff, like Adam Warlock, I fucking hate what they did to Adam Warlock. Like, I don't blame Will Poulter at all. I understand what they were going for, but I feel like a lot of that movie suffered from it being post Endgame, because you had to. I feel like James Gunn had a plan for Gamora and Peter Quill and Adam Warlock and all that stuff, and he had to like do everything like stuck in the timeline where they were, and also speed things up. I'm sure like he probably had like in mind Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4 where Adam Warlock really would have come in, but they had to do but then they had to speed everything up because he's like, 1, he was moving on to DC, and 2, he probably just wanted to have a nice trilogy. Yeah. I think, and I've said this many times about Doctor Strange 2, many, many times. I will always say the same exact thing over and over again when it comes to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. When it's being a Sam Raimi movie, it's fucking amazing. When it's being a Marvel movie, it fucking sucks. That's pretty much it. Yes.
Great super chat from Just Some Geeky Guy. The reason Spidey was absent during the events of Born Again is because he was listening to raindrops falling on my head while munching on a hot dog. Yeah. Yep. If you get it, you get it. By the way, Manos Time made a good point about what David Desmalkian was pitching earlier. Technically, Herbie is in the group and in the movie and in the promos and the posters. There's already 5 members of the family, and yeah, they do keep saying that Herbie's not just gonna be like the little side robot. He's gonna be part.
Yeah,
of
well,
the
it's
family,
still called Fantastic Four, so he's not part of the group. So Herbie can fuck off.
You don't turn your back on family.
Perfectly timed.
It was. You know what's also perfectly timed? Apparently, Ironheart dropped a teaser. Like, this is, I don't know if this is real, if this is like where this exists, like, but is this just footage from that, or they put out a little bit of a preview as part of like looking ahead to the upcoming Marvel projects late last year. I'm wondering if this is all of that stuff put together into one, because I couldn't find this video anywhere else. None of the trades have talked about this, and this is the shortest teaser. Like, this is literally 25 seconds. From what I see, though, I kind of like the Iron Man stuff, like, well, Ironheart stuff, like all the armor stuff looks nice. The design is still, I don't know, like, not exactly the best, but it feels very like early Iron Man design.
I mean, that makes sense because she's starting out, so I guess that
yeah,
works.
yeah. But you know what, like, that technology exists, so but I guess like Tony probably trademarked, copyrighted, and buried it behind a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo, which makes sense. Like, even Peter Parker doesn't have access to it anymore because nobody knows he exists. But anyway, I thought this was interesting. I mean, from just these few shots that we've got so far, I like it.
It's something. It's a thing.
You know what? It's not as bad as I thought it would.
It's the show of all time.
Sample size. So, sorry, you were saying?
It's the show of all time.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, well, that I think pretty much brings us to the end of the Marvel news for the day. So we now have to switch over talking about a couple of trailers that dropped this week. There were a bunch of trailers I wanted to talk about yesterday, but since it was just me and the fam, I didn't want to go through everything, so we kind of like skipped a few of them. But I wanted to bring one of them in from yesterday, and then we got one today. So the one from today is not really a trailer, but it is, something. However, John, the Old Man, or the Old Guard 2 trailer, the Old Man, that's a whole different thing. The Old Guard 2 trailer is out. Charlize Theron and her team of immortals are facing a new threat in the Netflix sequel. Uma Thurman and Henry Goldman, or Henry Golding. We talked about this a while ago. Both Uma Thurman and Henry Golding joined in on this project. They're part of the movie. Victoria Mahoney is directing it. It comes out this summer. It's a sequel that, quite frankly, is probably 2 years too late, maybe. But then again, like, if a Top Gun sequel that's 35 years apart can work, then I'm sure this will as well. So, John, I want to get your opinion on this. What are your thoughts about the new Charlize Theron sequel, The Old Guard 2?
I wish I gave a shit.
Really? That isn't.
Never saw the first one.
Like the first one?
I never saw it. Didn't really care. Looked like typical Marvel crap, or typical Netflix crap. So yeah.
I mean, it looks enjoyable. It looks fun. It's very much in line with the first movie to me. Certain things are obviously different, but yeah, you got Uma Thurman in there. Of course, I mentioned Henry Golding is in there. I'm okay with this for a Netflix movie. Again, you could do a whole hell of a lot worse. So. It's a movie that comes out in the middle of the summer. So if you don't want to go out to a movie theater and you want to sit at home and watch something, not bad. And like, some of the stunts in here are pretty impressive. And Charlize Theron, of course, this has been in the works for a while. Like, I feel like they greenlit the sequel months after the first one came out, so I'm surprised it took that long. But yeah, July 2nd, John. So it comes out in a couple of months, less than a couple of months time. In fact, it's going to come out literally a week before Superman, so I'm sure we're going to talk about it. Antonio's here. Hello, Antonio. How are you doing today? You just missed some of the Marvel news earlier, but, we're going to probably have a bunch of other stuff. Marvel will probably be brought up again, but you are in time for all the DC news. Electric State was for kids, says Figure Drawing. Yeah, pretty much. Monique saying, I really like the first one. I love Henry Golding, too. Exactly, and he's a part of this one. He has had some up and down projects over the last several years, but certainly, he's hopefully picking better projects moving forward. And the Old Guard 2 coming off the first movie, which actually was one of the bigger, more well appreciated movies from Netflix, because they don't tend to hit well with most of their films, but the Old Guard was good. The other members of the cast, John, there's a lot of names in there that you're like, oh my god, okay, I've seen these people elsewhere. Kiki Lane, Marwan Kenzari, who of course was in Aladdin. He has another project coming up we talked about a couple of days ago. Luca Marinelli, Matthias Schoenaerts, of course, of Supergirl. He's playing Krem of the Yellow Hill and Supergirl, and Chiwetel Ejiofor, you know, missing in action in the MCU, but I guess he's gonna be in action in the Old Guard too. So there you go. Quite the impressive cast there, John. So that movie comes out July 2nd. Like I said, we'll probably talk about it when it does, but the trailer's out now. So if you guys want to go see it, it's on YouTube. In the meantime, though, John, we had to talk about Godzilla times Kong sequel. Got a new title. And they put out a little teaser. It's like a production teaser thing. And basically all it does is it shows you like somebody calling in to Monarch with an emergency. And then you hear some sound effects of like, you know, a Godzilla and Kong scream. And, you know, then you get the logo with the name. Now, the director of the movie is going to be Grant Sputore, and of course, we talked about it a few weeks ago. Dan Stevens is signed on to return. Caitlin Dever is also in the movie. It is following up, of course, Godzilla times Kong: The New Empire. So if you guys are wondering, the latest sequel is going to be called Godzilla times Kong Supernova, John. And the logos and everything looks very much the same as the previous movie. So again, going with like this like hard rock kind of a look. What are your thoughts on this? You saw it. It's not very long. It's like 43 seconds, as you can see there.
Yeah.
Keep Kong and carry on. I want that mug. That'd be fun. I also want that bobblehead of Godzilla on the left. I bet you some of these things are actually real and they just use them as props in the movie. But what did you think about this, Sean?
On the one hand, I'm excited because I do like the MonsterVerse. I think it's a lot of fun. I mean, outside of the first Godzilla, I haven't seen Kong Skull Island yet. All of them have been very good from the movies I've seen outside of the first one. But I would like to see more like, but on the other hand, I'd like to see more characters. Okay, we've had now gonna have 3 Godzilla Kong movies. Cool. Exactly. Like, I love King Kong. I love the character, and I understand why they're doing it, because King Kong, they have the right, like Warner Brothers has the rights to King Kong, so they can use it while, you know, like Toho can't, because, you know, they don't have the rights unless they would make a deal with them. So like, okay, let's like use Kong as much as we can, but it's like there's other like characters you can use. That part of the, I understand maybe there's a rights issue, but like there's an entire pantheon of, you know, characters that you can use that I would like to see. I'd like to see a Mothra movie. I mean, you can fucking bring them back. Like, you could bring back, like, you could fucking have like Anguirus or something like that. Maybe like an kind of a Jet Jaguar movie. Like, you could bring, like, this is very much like kind of Silver Age Godzilla, where it's like very silly and very like not, you're not supposed to take it seriously and that kind of thing, which I love. So with that, I would like to see more of those like sillier characters in here. And I want them to really like use that and focus on that instead of just doing Godzilla Kong over and over again. Like, will it be great? Will I see it? Absolutely. I will have a fun time with it. Love it. But at the same time, give us something else in this franchise.
Yeah. Well, the movie is going to be coming out in March 26th of 2027. So it's a long ways to go between now and then the movie comes out. I'm surprised it's going to take them that long to bring one of these out, considering the formula is pretty much always the same. They're not really, you know, breaking new ground with these. That's around the same time as the Legend of Zelda movie comes out too, I think, in 2027. So it's gonna be a packed couple of months to kick off the spring of 2027. But until then, I'm sure whenever there's any updates from the movie, Warner Brothers, Legendary, both working on it, we will talk about it. But let us know what you guys thought about it. I mean, it's not much to go off of. I like the stuff on the desk was more impressive than most everything we saw, other than, of course, the new logo. Now we have a logo and we have a title, Godzilla times Kong Supernova. So yeah, impressive, excited. Let us know in the comments down below. Right now, we're going to switch our focus on to the quick hits. So the quicker part of the news segment. So let's hit that music there. We got the Bossa Nova elevator music, and let's dive into the quick hits, shall we? So, John, the first thing I wanted to bring up, RuPaul's Drag Race executive producer kind of was talking about the All-Stars tournament. So this is like a bracket style All-Star format that they're doing this time around, and the show just debuted today. 2 episodes are out. You can go check them out yourself on Paramount Plus. And it looks like they're leaving the door open for future format shifts, because a tournament format is not what they have done in the past. But they're like, yeah, we're willing to try new things. Everything is about timing. I think the premiere episode had Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande as the celebrity guest judges. So this looks exciting. I mean, hey, I kind of just fallen into this franchise over the last year or so, and now I actually enjoy it. This wasn't something that I would have watched a couple of years back. But your thoughts on this, Sean? Is this something that interests you at all?
Nope.
RuPaul's Drag Race, and the
not my thing. If you like it, cool. Just not my thing.
It's on Paramount Plus. Go check it out. Fiona loves it. So moving on to the next thing, let's find out about New York. New York just increased their film and TV tax credits to $800 million, and that's part of their goal of competing for Hollywood projects. Of course, we've been talking about tariffs and everything, and LA, struggling with production. A lot of projects now moving away from Los Angeles. They don't film there anymore. It's too expensive. There's too much red tape. And Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is trying to work on a new plan for better tax incentives. But New York, I guess, got ahead of it. And the changes now include a creation of a separate $100 million pool for independent productions and a sweetener for productions that frequently shoot in New York, so probably like TV shows and such. So John, what are your thoughts on this? I guess New York is definitely sweetening the pot for anybody who wants to shoot in the Big Apple. Governor Kathy Hochul approved the state budget, and that's where this increase essentially comes from. It was previously 700 million, I think, or roughly that. Now it's 800 million. And it's pretty much double from what it used to be back in 2022. What are your thoughts on this?
Definitely very intriguing. I assume it lines up with everything going on with the tariff stuff. But it's like, y'all could have done this like years ago, years upon years upon years ago, but now you're doing it where it's like very intriguingly convenient.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll just say that.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because a lot of TV shows, a lot of like procedurals, CSI. Well, actually, let me take that back. Law and Order.
Law and Order is the big one.
They're the big one that they did produce in New York. A lot of other TV shows still do production in New York. Suits LA, we'll talk about later. Obviously, that's in the name LA. Although I don't know how much of it is actually shot in LA or was shot in LA. The other thing I mentioned at the very top of the show, John, Sony's head of Sony Pictures Motion Group, that is, Tom Rothman. He was at CinemaCon. While he's not the best presenter, he's certainly good at what he does. And Sony just confirmed that by giving him a new multi-year contract. So it looks like Tom Rothman is not going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, he's sort of overseen a lot of good things and bad things over at Sony in the time that he's been around. When you look at it, he was before then he used to be at 20th Century Fox back in the day. Of course, Sony's got a pretty exciting summer ahead with 28 Years Later. You've got Karate Kid Legends. You've got Spider-Man Brand New Day in the works, shooting this summer for next summer's release. And it ends with us, despite all the controversy, it still pulled in $350 million worldwide. You had Venom: The Last Dance make $480 million worldwide on just a budget of $110 million. So, being fiscally responsible in terms of the budgets, and then making very profitable movies seems to be a lot of what he's been up to. He's in charge of like all the different Sony studios that fall under the motion picture group, including Sony Pictures Animation, which of course is where the Spider-Verse movies come from, Sony Pictures Imageworks, which is another animation studio. You have international productions, Sony Pictures Classics, Screen Gems, TriStar Pictures, of course, a big one, Columbia Pictures. And then, even the stage activities, like they say, they're MJ the Musical, John. So what are your thoughts on this? Tom Rothman sticking around for a whole lot longer. They didn't tell us exactly how many more years, but multiple years. He's now going to be the longest serving film chief in Hollywood. That's exciting. I mean, I guess that's exciting if you think he's good at his job.
And not a lot of people do. That's the thing. Great. We're gonna get more. I mean, Sony once in a while comes up with a good movie, but like for the most part, I mean, their animation department seems pretty good so far. Like, all right, cool, but like everything else can kind of fuck off. Tom
Monumental
Rothman needs to
Comics in the
fuck off,
chat.
is
Hello,
essentially what I'm
Monumental
saying.
Comics. They are not a fan. They're like, they need to let this guy go. Like, I don't. Well, the Sony Spider-Man verse movies are not very good. Despite the fact that the Venom movies have been profitable, clearly none of the other. I mean, even then, like, I don't think all three of them are equally as entertaining, and certainly none of them were like Oscar worthy. So, anywho, John, Black Mirror's Bandersnatch episode, or I think it was like a movie or something, or it's getting pulled basically by Netflix, and it's one of the last few remaining interactive movies on Netflix, and it looks like they're just moving away from that whole idea. For the longest time, they had tried to kind of push this. They had Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Kimmy versus the Reverend, that got pulled. And now it looks like one of the last few remaining, you know, interactive movies are also being pulled. They are breaking into video games though, so Netflix may be deciding that nobody wants to actually actively do something that's meant to be a passive activity, watching movies. Like, who wants to make decisions when you're watching movies?
Didn't Fionn Whitehead or Will Poulter come back in the latest season or something?
I do believe they did, yes.
So it's still like canon, but it's just like, I don't. And here's the thing: this isn't. You can't like simply pirate it because it's like it has like 15,000 timelines you can go down based on decisions. So like, I'm really curious how like, because I mean, archiving all that stuff. You gotta try to do that as much as you can. I'm curious how people will do that. I'm sure like somebody has a way of doing it. Like they've gone through like every single clip and maybe like taken all that. So
yeah. Thank you for the super chat, Monumental Comics. We really
drive by drop. What the fuck does that mean?
Is that in reference to the latest Black Mirror season? Is that what you're talking about? Main man fan saying reminds me of old VHS games. Wow, really back in the day. Choose your own adventure books were never that popular either, says Monique. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if you want to have a choose your adventure anything, that makes it an active activity. A lot of us watch TV just to turn our brains off and sit back and relax. You don't want to actually have to be making decisions doing that. That's, you know, if you wanted to do that, you would play a video game. So I guess Netflix realized that. So there you go. Man of Time, though, I agree with you on the whole idea of maybe Sony does need to have their own like studio that makes just the Marvel movies, and instead of having the what they do now, where obviously Spider-Man's with Marvel, they produce all the MCU Spider-Man stuff, but then they just bring in, you know, willy-nilly directors and writers to work on the other Spider-Man related properties. Maybe they should have like a Sony Marvel Studios or something. But hey, in other casting news, John, Mikey Madison and Kristen Dunst are set to star in Alejandro Landes Echevarria's Reptilia from Imperative, Pastel, Black Bear, and AF Films. Of course, we know Kristen Dunst has been busy doing a ton of award-winning work. Mikey Madison looking to build up her slate of movies in the time since she won her Oscar for Anora. So she's picking another one that is looking like a good movie with a director that's probably gonna be able to create some maybe Oscar buzz depending on how well it turns out. Is this one that you would be interested in, considering that, you know, you've got two of the best actresses in the game right now starring in it?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, moving on to the next thing. John is just ready for that Peacemaker talk, I can tell. Kangna Ranaut, she's a big Bollywood star. She's now actually making the leap. Kangna Ranaut is coming over to Hollywood to be in a horror drama called Blessed Be the Evil. Production starts, they avoid the new potential tariffs by shooting in New York. So Tyler Posey, Scarlett Rose Stallone will also be in the project. Is this one that you might be interested in? I know you're a fan of horror. I can tell you Kangna Ranaut has done a bunch of horror movies in Bollywood, so I guess now coming over to Hollywood, she's expanding her portfolio. And yeah, I mean, you've got a couple other stars there. Is that like one of Stallone's daughters, Scarlett Rose Stallone?
I assume. I can't imagine any other person named Stallone.
So, yeah. Mochi saying, remember when Dunst got upset that Toby was making more money than her? You know what? To be it's fair in some ways, but yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing: was the movie called Mary Jane Watson? No, it was called fucking Spider-Man. So Kirsten Dunst can kind of shut the fuck up about it. You're the girlfriend that sucks. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Well, moving on to some TV show updates. Lopez v. Lopez and Night Court were both canceled after 3 seasons apiece at NBC. And those aren't the only cancellations, guys, because NBC also brought the hammer or the axe down on Suits LA. Just 1 season and the Stephen Amell show is dead, John. It wasn't very good. Most people did not like it. It was a spin-off of the USA Network Suits show that still gets a lot of views on Netflix, but the new spin-off was on NBC and just did not get the traction. And from everything I've heard, it was not very well written. So a bunch of shows NBC canceled right now. On the other hand, Natalie Portman, in terms of Star Wars, I don't know how to transition between those two things. So I'm just going to move on to the Natalie Portman story. She just recently suggested the idea that if she were to return somehow, if Padme were to come back from the dead, she would want her to have a lightsaber and basically be a Jedi. That's basically how I guess she's saying, if you were to go back to the Star Wars franchise, she would want to be a Jedi. I mean, she's already done her return to the MCU. Do you think there's any possibility that Padme actually comes back?
No, because it literally betrays everything in regards to fucking Anakin's turn to the dark side. That's like the whole fucking point, but like that doesn't matter because I just want to fool around with a lightsaber. It's like, shut the fuck up. How about that?
Maybe in like a fan fiction kind of a thing, but yeah,
I mean, they have had like comics and books that are like alternate timelines. That like there was an alternate like version of like episode 4 where like all I remember is like Yoda just like fucking like taking the Death Star and like bashing it into like another planet, and like causing it to fucking explode. So I remember that, and there was like alternate versions. Like if this was slightly different, it would go this way, kind of like Marvel's What If. Like I could see them doing like maybe like an animated show like that. Wasn't Star Wars Visions like that kind of? Isn't it like anyway, so. Whatever it is. Yeah. But like you could like do something like that, like Padme never dies, but like he still falls to the dark side and like they have to keep her in secret or something, and she like eventually, so that Darth Vader doesn't fucking kill her again, she trains to become a Jedi. And she like taps into the Force and all that shit. So like I could like see that as like an alternate universe, but yeah, like they cloned her. But whatever it is, I think she needs to, in the mainline continuity, she needs to stay dead, because that's what happened. She needs to be peace with that.
Yeah, like Manos Time also saying it would make 0 sense. Like, how does this all work? Like, there's no way for that to work. What also makes 0 sense is what our prestigious president recently said. If you live in the US, apparently the guy in the White House thinks that Mattel is it's a real country. Mattel is not a company, it's a real country. And I don't know if he was mispronouncing it or what. But yeah, this is real. This was actually said. According to, I don't understand it. But apparently, if he seems to think that Mattel is actually, I don't know if he was joking, he was just talking in his usual voice. But if Trump thinks that Mattel is a country, John, just wait till he sees where Hasbro's planetary weapon and his soldiers are. The jokes in the comments were hilarious. It's very Star Warsy. I can't wait for that. Yeah, I can't wait for the country of Hasbro and country of Mattel to come together on this. Yeah, this was one of those like dumb, like I literally looked at it for a minute. I'm like, is this somebody doing like an AI video? No, it was actually real. Like,
this is the dumbest dictatorship that's ever going to be dictatored in the history of the fucking new world.
You can't even do that right. Anyway, Tony Gilroy said that they had to scrap a standalone K2SO horror movie episode from Andor because, well, season 2's budget just couldn't account for it. He said they had to bring this huge ugly tanker ship to Yavin, and there was a KX unit that was trapped inside there hunting. It was sort of like a monster movie with K2. So they just didn't have the budget for it ultimately, but the idea still, I guess, survives somewhere. Maybe they can turn it into a book or something. So that's interesting. I find that to be very interesting. I'm
cool.
behind on those Andor episodes, but I will catch up soon. Speaking of stuff going on in the world, John, Bill Gates just pledged to donate 99% of his tech fortune, which roughly amounts to $108 billion to the Gates Foundation, saying that his foundation continues to aim to improve healthcare, reduce poverty, and increase educational opportunities across the world. It looks like his goal is to basically get rid of all of that cash that he's holding on to by the time he's no longer with us. So, yeah. Anyway, I just
cool. I guess it's like he's rewarding himself. Like, all right.
Well, you could be rewarding yourself by going to see Final Destination Bloodlines in a movie theater, and by sitting in what they're calling simply the death chair. You could be dismembered, stabbed, impaled. I hope you survive the screening and report back to us, because apparently if you go to see it in 4DX, you've got a lot of different things to look forward to, John. Your thoughts on this?
Interesting.
They said this is not a real demonstration. This is for entertainment purposes only. So if you're scared that this might actually happen to you if you go to see it in 4DX, as long as they don't make you sign an NDA beforehand, you should be fine. All right, moving on to the next thing. John doesn't seem interested at all. Pope Leo, John, Pope Leo the 14th has seen the movie Conclave. In fact, he watched it right before the actual Conclave. How meta of the Pope. Like, he probably didn't even know.
I mean, they all did. That was like, they were all watching Conclave. I'm like, they're like, all right, fuck it. Might as well watch it. The movie that should have won Best Picture, you know? So, like, yeah, might as well. If you have it, like, all right, let's see how it works.
Yep. Hello, Nico in the chat. I mean, you know what? That's probably why it took them like an extra day to vote, right? Because they were locked in there and they were like, are you guys voting? Like, no wonder. They were just watching the movie. That's why it took them this long. But anywho, that does it for the quick hits today. A couple of weird ones at the end there, but you know, we had a bunch of movie news, of course, along the way. So now let's close out the music. And well, let us know in the comments down below, guys. Which of the stories did you enjoy the most? Was it all the Marvel stuff we talked about earlier? Was it RuPaul's Drag Race? Was it all the casting news we talked about? What was it, the random ranting that we usually go on? Hit that like button while you're at it. Get in the comment section and hit subscribe if you're new. Hit the notification bell while you're at it so that you know when we go live. We do it 5 times a week. And speaking of what we do 5 times a week, of course, the reason why you guys are all here is DCU Daily. So welcome on in to another episode of DCU Daily. This is the final episode of the week. And well,
no, it's the final episode ever. That's what we're doing, guys. No, I'm just kidding.
It's packed full of Peacemaker talk. We're going to have a bunch of stuff from Peacemaker. I've got such a long list. We also have some Superman and Lantern stuff. So yeah, the last episode of the week, I keep using the word final. It's not the final episode. We'll be here forever, hopefully. But DCU Daily, guys, it's going to be packed, as I mentioned. John, which of the stories are you most looking forward to?
Peacemaker. Like, that's the obvious thing. Like, come on now.
Is it that obvious? Well, John, we're not gonna start with Peacemaker.
We got to build up to that.
We got to build up to it, right? So we got to build up to it by talking about Absolute Superman issue number 7. A mind is a terrible thing. It's coming out soon. We're gonna get Absolute Brainiac. It's looking interesting. The writer Jason Aaron posted about it. What are your thoughts on this? Is this one that you are finally convinced to maybe pick up? I know a couple of you guys in the chat have seen it, or read it, I should say. What are your thoughts, John?
Looks pretty cool. It kind of looks like in this picture, kind of looks like a Robot Man, but without his dome.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit.
Well, Absolute Brainiac, that's your look at. I mean,
yeah,
looks like Brainiac except a little more edgy. So moving on to the next thing. Absolute Batman number 9 comes out in June. The final order day is a week from Monday, so May the 19th, I should say, is when you will be able to last order it. The issue starts out the next mega arc featuring Bane, which we talked about before. The look of Bane. This is from Scott Snyder. Of course, the new issue is going to feature the first appearance of Bane in these Absolute series and the first appearance of 2 other big characters as well, which we don't know yet who those will be. But hey, John, if I were to ask you, what other villains, or maybe not even villains, do you expect to see as those mystery characters, the 2 other mystery characters they're going to bring in outside of Bane and, you know, Absolute Batman number 9?
I have no idea. I I don't know. I'm just kind of. I don't know. Mm,
You know what? That's okay. We'll just come back to that another
it,
time.
mm,
Well,
okay.
during
So, you know what? Okay.
okay, go
So
ahead.
let's try to imagine like Bane real quick. Like characters connected to Bane. Maybe like something weird like John Paul Valley. That could or Jean Paul Valley. That could be like weirdly interesting. Um no, Liefeld did not draw that. Maybe some other characters of the Bat family that are like really different. That could be interesting. So yeah, I would accept. I think like probably two other Bat family members. If I were to
Yeah.
take a guess,
Well, they are
maybe
saying
one Bat
big.
family member and maybe another villain.
Yeah, big characters, so like well-known characters. By the way, we have M8 and Jalen both in the chat now. Hello to you guys. Well, let's talk about some Superman, shall we, John? So, David Zaslav was on the Warner Brothers Discovery Quarter 1 earnings call yesterday, and we talked a little bit about it on the show yesterday, actually. But I wanted to highlight one of the quotes that he gave, which we didn't discuss, which has to do with what he's calling a strong slate for the upcoming DCU, including Superman, Supergirl, and Lanterns. Plus, he also hyped the 10-year plan that they've got. The quote from him, this is a little abbreviated because he probably like went on and said like a bunch of different things, but essentially what it boils down to is this. David Zaslav said, "We are excited about the strong slate, starting with DC Studios launching launching Superman and all part of our 10-year plan to reignite the DC brand globally and drive long-term franchise value." What are your thoughts on, again, David Zaslav's excitement? Of course, Superman is already going to be here in a few weeks' time. Supergirl is well on its way to almost finishing production. Lanterns is already done producing like half of the episodes. Peacemaker comes out literally a month after Superman does. And of course, it looks like, they still have that 10-year plan in place. A nice reminder that, David Zaslav still has that in the background as like the framework that all of this is based on, John. So what are your thoughts on again, he's excited, and that's the man who's cutting all the checks and, doing all the approvals. So if he's happy, then are we happy?
We happy? We happy.
We happy. All right.
So yeah, I mean, hopefully Zaslav isn't a complete moron. He's he's already kind of a moron, but maybe he's not a complete moron.
Fair enough.
So.
Well, moving on to the next thing, because I know we talked about this a lot yesterday. I actually saw this whole showcase podcast today. So basically, how DC Studios has their own showcase podcast, is the official podcast of DC Studios. I don't know why they didn't just come to us, but that's okay, James Gunn. We'll talk about it sometime. They featured Anthony Carrigan and Sarah Sampaio in there. I was gonna bring you guys a bunch of quotes from there, but I didn't have the time today, so we will probably do that next week when we have less news to talk about. But essentially, both Anthony Carrigan and Sarah Sampaio were on the show. They kind of showed us abbreviated interviews from both of them because they couldn't show us like the entire interviews. And in those interviews, they both talked about how they prepared for their roles. Apparently Sarah Sampaio is a big fan of Dragon Ball Z or watched that a lot growing up. And Anthony Carrigan talked about how preparing for the role was a different kind of experience. In fact, I think I actually have some quotes from Anthony Carrigan. Let me see where I can find them. I was going to bring it in later, but let's talk about it now. He discussed his performance as Metamorpho in Superman, saying, "There's one moment in the movie in which I had to do something, and I studied hard the night before it because it was important to me to actually figure out chemically, because if you know his power set, he can turn himself into pretty much any element." And so I guess the way he does it, he recites whatever he wants to turn into. And so he went on to say, he had to basically figure out chemically how to do this thing. So hopefully if you see me muttering certain things and are able to lip read and know what's happening, you'll see that what I'm trying to do is accurate. Now, he did say, look, don't judge me. I'm not a scientist, but I guess that means that we will see him transform a lot in the movie. John, what are your thoughts?
Very cool. Thanks, Anthony Carrigan. We appreciate you.
Yes, we very much appreciate you, Anthony Carrigan. His performance looks interesting so far, is the word I will use. Yeah, and Nico Sampaio, Sarah Sampaio is an anime fan. Manos Time saying, although she had some nightmares about Dragon Ball Z growing up, with one of the villains, like, that she did not like. Anyway, Man of Time saying, I hope it's true that the Thing is having a 10-year plan without forming a Justice League buildup. It's weird to me personally, but we will see. Yeah, the 10-year plan probably does include the Justice League. They're just not inclined to tell us that just yet because I bet you it's still a few years away. But there's got to be a Justice League somewhere within that 10 years. In fact, you already have the Justice Gang, so you can clearly tell they're thinking about it. So yeah, we'll see. But hey, you know what, John? We did also get some news from the world of Lanterns. So the Lanterns director James Hawes posted a photo of him basically driving away from the Warner Brothers lot, saying that he is now wrapped up filming his 2 episodes for the show. The photo there with Aaron Pierre, we posted that yesterday. We talked about it on the show, but the photo that I wanted to showcase today is in the stories of James Hawes' Instagram account saying, that's all, folks. Wrapped up, heading home. Lanterns is done, at least for him. He's wrapped up the 2 episodes he was going to be filming. He's done it, and now he's gone. And so 2 out of the 8, I know we talked about the other day that they've already shot like episodes 3 and 4. So it looks like they're getting closer and closer to pretty much filming the whole damn show. Which again, much like Supergirl, they're gonna have plenty of time to do post-production. What are your thoughts on this?
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Like James Hawes, yeah, he didn't do a great job with the Amateur, but I will say I like I like the ideas of this. It's just like there's some things that inhibit my excitement, but I want to be excited more, but I still am excited a little bit. So there's that. James Hawes is great directing TV. Maybe you should stick with that instead of movies, but
Man of Time, though, worrying that there's 0 hints that they will, or indications that they will actually have super suits in the show. And he's kind of worried about that. Look, I will say this. There's not a need to worry about that just yet because it's so early going. Even if they do have suits, they're not going to give that up like more than a year away from the show coming out. So I don't think we need to worry about the fact that they don't have any photos out there yet, that they might not even have shot much with the suits. So what I will say is basically, look guys, let's just wait and see how it turns out, right? And I'm sure we will get a promo, we'll get like official trailer and posters, and then you'll get a look. And even if you don't get a lot of them in costume, which I bet you will, I'm okay as long as they're telling a really good story. There's probably going to be some level of cosmic to the show itself. Speaking of cosmic, though, John, Screen Rant got an exclusive preview at Superman. They got a new photo from the movie, which shows off, of course, one of the robots, as well as Superman and Krypto, and what looks like something that any pet owner can relate to, especially if you're a dog owner. John, what are your thoughts on this image? The Fortress of Solitude is looking very Fortress of Solitude-y, and it looks like Superman is trying to explain something to Krypto, and Krypto is just there like, yeah, I totally hear you, but yeah, I'm gonna do my own thing. I love this.
He's like, food, toy, fetch. What are you trying to say to me, buddy?
Yep, that seems to be what's going on here. That's exactly the conversation. You know what? This does look like it's after he got healed, maybe. So, maybe that's where this comes into play. You could see.
Bro, why the fuck didn't you listen to me? I said take me home like 6 times. Come on now.
You can see all the other robots back there. They've got like a bunch of mechanical gear, or I don't know, like maybe computer servers, and there's stairs. There's, I don't know, is that a little tunnel or hole in the wall?
It definitely looks like, even the background, you can see that technological equipment that looks very like 70s-esque kind of technology, a little bit like spaceship-esque technology. So
definitely,
I like that a lot.
It looks fantastic, honestly. Monique saying my dog is way too bougie to wear a cape. Yeah, I think most dogs are. They would not like it. They would be like, just take this off me. Jalen saying I love Krypto so much, and Hello Enterprising saying that they love the Fortress of Solitude. Very, very classic indeed. And one of the things that actually Sarah Sampaio mentioned in her interview on the Showcase podcast was that the Eve Tessmacher character takes a lot of inspiration from the version that was in the old Christopher Reeves movies. So very Richard Donner-esque take on Eve Tessmacher, although you do get to find out that she does have a moral compass. She knows right from wrong, but she's sort of a bit of like, a deer in the headlights sometimes, where Lex Luthor's just kind of ordering her around and And so that was interesting to hear that again. James Gunn taking a lot of inspiration from the Christopher Reeves version of the movies, very reverent, very old school, and similarly, the Fortress of Solitude looks very old school. A lot of caustics on the wall there with the ice and stuff. Looks interesting to say the least. Now, speaking of Superman, John, keep your eyes on the sky because the Superman trailer is around the corner. Basically, the reason why we kind of know this is because James Gunn has been teasing the fans, and it seems like somebody else asked him, "Now, when is the Superman trailer coming, sir?" And this was, I think, in the Peacemaker trailer post, and then James Gunn was just basically like, I don't have an answer for you." He just posted one little emoji. So I know it's not a ton of news here, but John, do you care to speculate like what this is? Because it seems like this is very similar to James Gunn and what he did with the first Superman trailer, the teaser trailer that dropped in December. First, he was like, "It's coming soon." Then he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then 2 days later, he dropped it. So, do you think, given that we just got a new Peacemaker teaser, that we will have to wait a little while, or are we like a few days away, maybe? And
maybe that's what he wants us to think. Like, oh, I just gave you guys a teaser, and then like 3 days later, we're gonna get the teaser. So like, all right, we'll let you cook. It's fine. We'll see.
Yeah, we will. Manus Time with a question for you. Do you guys think the Fortress we'll get a tour of the Fortress of Solitude in the movie? Well, like maybe. I guess it depends. Maybe, Lois hasn't been there before and she gets there and then he's like, "Let me show you around." Maybe that will be something that we get. It's also possible we get the tour when Lex Luthor is trashing the place and they just go around trashing everything. I would imagine that's probably going to be a part of the movie. Enterprising saying, "Man, it definitely feels like it's coming up soon." Yeah, we would all expect it to be sometime this month, honestly. Like, it's gonna be we're literally gonna be 2 months away from the movie coming out on this Sunday. So by the time we're here on Monday, we'll be like less than 2 months away from the movie's release. So they gotta release it soon. I know they're not gonna release it like probably on Monday because they just put the Peacemaker trailer out, but probably sooner than later. Chris saying apparently the clip was shown at CinemaCon of Krypto destroying the Fortress of Solitude, getting upset with Superman. Or Superman getting upset. Yeah, there was a little bit of that, but I don't know how much of it is Krypto destroying this fortress. I haven't seen the clip myself, but we'll just have to go out and scour the internet and see who else posted about it. Not many people talking about that though, so I don't know how significant that was or how true it was. But you know what, guys? Like Enterprising told you to do, hit the like button while you're here. Right now, we're gonna switch our focus to talking about the main event of the show, the main event of the show, because DCU Daily is already the main event. We do have a bit of a Q&A coming up as well. But before we get to the Q&A, John, we got to talk about Peacemaker. I was gonna say Superman, but we already did talk about Superman. So Peacemaker, they just dropped the new full teaser. We got a sneak peek a couple of days ago. They told us the teaser was coming out on Friday. Well, it is Friday, and we do have a teaser, and it was glorious indeed. If you guys waited all day, James Gunn, as he does now, he releases them around noon, and that's what he did. And Chris Smith, played by John Cena, we can see him in the show actually, unlike in real life. He's joining the DCU, but apparently he's getting laughed at in the process. Sean, I want to get your opinions on this. The new trailer is out. The guys get in the chat and the comments, let us know what you thought about it. We're gonna dive into all the itty bitty details. But before we do, John, what was your initial reaction to watching the teaser?
I was like, okay, let's see what the teaser will bring. I think it does bring a lot of interesting aspects to the show. I mean, it showcases in the teaser we finally get to see Hawkgirl, Guy Gardner, and Maxwell Lord in action. That was nice to see. Guy Gardner acting like a dickhead, Hawkgirl kind of sort of acting like a dickhead, and Maxwell Lord being a piece of shit, and it's very much played up for laughs. So the vibe I'm getting from this version of Maxwell Lord, I feel like he's almost, from what I can gather, like maybe not, is that he's kind of like the more blue collar millionaire. Like Lex Luthor is like the guy, like he's the guy, like like what Bill Gates was like in like the 90s. Like that kind of shit. And then you have kind of like the lesser guy of Maxwell Lord, who the fuck are you type of shit. That's what I'm kind of gathering from his version of Lord. Like, he's kind of just the dude that's in the shadow of Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's like this like absolute super genius. He's this, that, and everything. But Maxwell Lord, maybe he's lesser than that. So I can imagine them kind of pulling that. Doing
a
it with
couple of
that
good
character.
points though from you guys in the chat, and we'll bring those up. But James Gunn did post a photo of this exact location. We have seen this before, like this rundown building with the security on the outside. A couple of good points by Enterprising. He's saying that, apparently, I mean, as we know, this takes place after Superman, so it shows that Mr. Terrific and company, or at least Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner, are still working with Maxwell Lord at the end of the movie. So I don't think, and either of us at least thought that they were gonna disband the Justice Gang by the end of the film Superman. But this confirms it, I suppose, that they're still gonna be working with Maxwell Lord at the end of the movie. The trailer Jalen Harris is number 2 on YouTube. It might even climb to number 1. So that's fun to see always. I mean, I was noticing the numbers were climbing insanely fast, which appreciably so. Elite Easy is here saying hello, hi. Enterprising saying he feels like the gold guy version of Max Lord that runs the JL High, the Golden Age version. Is that what you mean? Okay, Ace Mochi saying a lot of people, the Snyder fans, got upset that Hawkgirl said her butt is getting big. It's funny since it's very in character for Kendra Sanders Hawkgirl. Yeah, exactly. I didn't think that was problematic. And especially then John Cena's like, you guys were talking about butt and stuff, and you also said that I'm dumb. And like he says it in like this very sincere, voice. And the whole mic is off or it's not off gag was, it kind of goes to show you again, John, this Maxwell Lord isn't exactly, minting it the way Lex Luthor might be. Elite Easy suggesting maybe we'll get Checkmate, the Justice Society of America, and the Terrifics. Well, so far we know these guys as the Justice Gang, so not quite the same thing. I don't think we're getting a Superman trailer next Friday, Chris, but you know what? If that was correct, then I will come back and thank you for that, because you would have manifested it. John Cena also posted the trailer saying, so much peace coming your way. Season 2 of Peacemaker is streaming August 21st on Max. I love Daniel Brooks' character in this. Like, again, the chemistry is there. And John Cena is looking as, good, as yoked as ever. Frank Grillo posted it saying, I got 2 words, opening credits. That's the reason I bring this up, his post, because so far we don't know what the opening credits are going to be. We don't know if the song in the trailer is going to be the opening credits or something else. The first season's opening credits were one of the best of any opening credits of any show ever, anywhere. So I can't wait to see what they do with season 2. Of course, maybe we'll get to see Frank Grillo dancing in the opening credits. That'd be nice. Hashtag revenge, rebuild loyalty. So yeah, it looks like Rick Flag Sr. He's gonna be, a antagonistic force. Maybe not the villain of the show, but certainly, somebody who's at odds with Peacemaker. So John Cena don't want none of this. Well, John Cena is the current WWE Undisputed World Heavyweight Champion. So John Cena probably knows a thing or two about getting into a tussle, as it were. You guys in the chat saying, Ismochi says, to be honest, I think that the Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner scene in Peacemaker is a one-off flashback of him trying to join the Justice Gang, but didn't make the cut. Instead, Mr. Terrific makes it. That's a good theory. I don't know if they're doing a flashback, because we're going to talk about a bunch more of the trailer, but I mean, hey, at this point, you could be right, because it's a teaser. Like, they could easily cut things in a way that it misleads us. It might even be
exactly.
Manus Time saying, Dan, there's a funny breaking news. There's a big budget, $100 million Trump biopic in the works, which is weird. Is there really? You know what, Manos? If that is real, I will save that for Monday. Chris saying, if you're not getting a trailer for Superman next Friday, then it's got to be the following Friday. So, well, Chris, at that point we're just all guessing, so we'll just leave it at that. John, what are your thoughts on some of these images? Sol Rodriguez, who plays one of the I guess one of the what's the Argus,
Sasha
like, members.
Bordeaux.
What's her name? Sasha Bordeaux.
Sasha Bordeaux.
Sasha
She's
Bordeaux.
a character from the comics.
She's in the show, and of course she posted a bunch of photos on her account, which I'm like, all right, well that's a lot of organic marketing. You let her post a bunch of photos from the trailer, and you see a lot of the stills. You've got Vigilante in this. You can see Jennifer Holland's character very much going through something. The whole trailer, she's like angry at the world. I don't know, like, what her state of mind is, because clearly something has changed between. She was a part of a bunch of those post-credit sequences in Black Adam and Shazam 2. Obviously, that's not canon anymore. Where the hell is Waller right now? John, do you care to speculate what Jennifer Holland's like? What's hardcore going through right now? She gets accused of having a toxic masculinity syndrome or something in the show, which is hilarious. But considering how violent she is, I suppose she has some aspects of that. What are your thoughts on this? And again, we'll dive into the rest of the characters from there.
I think she's kind of dealing with what happened at the end of the first season. Like, I mean, remember, she fucking nearly got killed. So they could definitely be like her kind of dealing with that. Maybe her brain got fucked up even more so. Maybe this, that, and the other thing happened, and she's just, a lot of trauma kind of dealing with that. Could be, interesting.
Yeah, very, very much could be so. I mean, it's just fun to see her in action because damn, that woman kicks some ass. Frank Grillo, of course, he's the head of Argus, dude. They talk about this here. So you were asking me before the show started, where between Creature Commandos and Superman and Peacemaker does Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr. become the head of Argus? Like, that's a question that I'm actually still wondering myself. Like, I don't know where that happens, when that happens. Maybe that'll be explained because this is part of the Superman movie. But what are your thoughts? Do you think that's what's going to happen in Superman, or do you think that happens off screen somewhere?
I would imagine it probably happens in Superman because it's like, I feel like that's a big shift in terms of Waller as a character. So, because I feel like they were probably doing that. They were probably going to set up that Waller from the beginning was going to be, was not going to be the head of Argus, but they had to change that because, as we all know, Waller got delayed and they had to make Peacemaker season 2 first. So I think there was probably something more with her getting, kicked off as director of Argus. So we will see, but I don't know. Like, I feel like it's too big of a thing to let go, Like, it's too big of a thing to be like, oh yeah, this thing happened off screen. I'm like, that's kind of cheap. Like, she's this big character. Like, she's been around for a while. So,
you know, the one thing I want to kind of bring this up, I think this is a very significant part of the trailer that we haven't discussed yet. You look at that logo on that Peacemaker costume. The eagle is facing downward. The eagle in the DCEU, the first season of Peacemaker,
it's a dove.
The dove. Sorry, the dove is facing downward. The dove of peace. It was facing upward in the DCEU, both in the Suicide Squad and season 1 of Peacemaker. And then at one point in the trailer, John Cena's Peacemaker walks through that fold-up storage multi-dimensional thingy and walks out the other end in his, tidy whities, literally, and runs up against another Peacemaker whose dove is facing upward, and then his costume's got a few other minor differences. John, are we talking multiverse already? Like, this is only going to be the third project overall in the DCU, the second live action, the first live action TV show. Is this going to introduce the multiverse, or is this how Chris Smith enters the DCU? I mean, what about, there's 2 John Cenas in this trailer. This is literally at the end of the trailer, but it's probably one of the most consequential shots they showed us. What are your thoughts on what is going on here? Like, can you speculate or theorize as to what might be happening?
I think this is just kind of. I think it'll be like maybe like a tongue in cheek joke that it's like slightly different. Like they'll have like I think it like I could see them doing a scene where it's like, "Oh hey, you had this alien invasion happen to you? Yeah, you so this happened to you? Yeah, like the exact same thing happened to me. Oh man, I wonder what's different. I mean, clearly we're from different universes and stuff. It's like, well, what about this? What about this? And it's like the same shit. Like, oh yeah, my brother died. Oh yeah, my dad's a raging racist fucking white supremacist. Yeah, yeah, same here. Did you meet the Justice League? And he's like, who the fuck is the Justice League? And then like that's kind of,
Yeah,
it goes
yeah.
off from there, but it's like that
Yep.
idea of
Bucky
like
Barrett. Yeah,
maybe
that whole.
this
Mhm.
DCEU he exists somewhere, but it's really, it still is technically different. So I think that would be really funny. Hello.
Yeah, I look, I for one would like to believe, like Nico's saying, that these pocket dimensions do form a connective tissue where we get to see other versions, but I don't know, it's too early to kind of go in that and commit to that full blown multiverse mode. But it's just interesting to see that again, this is already part of this new DCU. Like a few of the other images, of course, we have already talked about. You got the Justice Gang there, in a pretty rundown building. There's a point where the thing that toggles the microphone off doesn't even work. But I was surprised. Look, honestly, they had never mentioned up until now, um, or not up until now, but up until a few days ago, or was it earlier this week, that Sean Gunn was actually officially in the DCU. He had sort of never officially mentioned it. It was reported in the trades a long time ago, so we kind of knew it. But it was only recently that Sean Gunn publicly admitted to it. I guess he knew that he was going to be in the trailer, so now of course that's what Maxwell Lord looks like, John. So yeah, like you mentioned, that's not exactly, a billionaire version of Maxwell Lord. Maybe somebody who's just trying to do it on the cheap, perhaps. I don't know. That looks interesting.
Yeah.
Um, John Cena, of course, looking as Peacemaker as ever. And yeah, Hawk Girl, as Elmer said. This is the first time we've really seen her, right, in anything. Where because officially, of course, we've got all the behind the scenes set photos. But then you've got the bowl cut, of course, looking nice. The bowl cut, and yeah, that shot is back there again. So, John, this is the shot I wanted to kind of focus on for a second. Care to speculate what character? And that's Michael Rooker right there. What character is he playing? We were told by James Gunn this season is a whole lot more magical. So is this what he meant when he said that?
Yeah, most definitely. Now, I don't know what the character would be. Like he's kind of like he looks kind of Native American-esque. So I don't really know any like magical characters like that. I mean, obviously there's like Dr. Fate and shit like that, but I don't think he's playing that. He's probably again like James Gunn loves to do, take this fucking nobody character that was in 3 issues of a Golden Age like comic that nobody remembers, and he's like, we're gonna use this character now, and that's essentially what he's doing. Like the man's using like the Hammer of Baravia or whatever the fuck. Like he uses weird characters, so he's probably using this character and whoever he is, and using them here, and then we're gonna see what the hizzy hap is. I know everyone's like, oh, it's Green Arrow, and I'm like, really? So yeah, this kind of looks like Native American-esque. It would be really funny. It's like, I'm from this tribe, da, da, da. And he's like, bro, you're fucking white. What the fuck are you talking about? Like that could be like a whole thing. And he's like, I learned from this ancient thing, and it's like, dude, you're white. What the fuck? I will say the only thing I can think of that's like a character that's kind of like this, the only like white character that's connected to like Native American like ideas is like Quicksilver, like Max Mercury, but I don't think this is him. Like, but that's the only character I can think of. Definitely not him. But maybe, or they're taking a really different approach with another character and they're using it here. Maybe it's like he's connected to like Zatara or like John Sargent or something like that. That could be Sargon the Sorcerer. So maybe something like that could be interesting. So whatever it is, I think I mean Michael Rooker, nailing it as somebody else in James Gunn's web of stuff. So, and I don't think he's playing who he was in the Suicide Squad. I'm gonna just take a stab at that's probably the most likely case as well. So I'm curious with like
These other photos are also fun.
yeah, there he is in his tidy whities.
Oh, he's got the bulge. He's got the bulge going, John.
He does.
What do you think about the relationship between Daniel Brooks' character, who I keep forgetting the name of, and John Cena's Peacemaker in the show? How that's been developing over the season, and maybe even this one.
Yeah, maybe it's a closer friendship of like she's kind of divorced from everybody else with the exception of her wife. Maybe there's like a kinship there that it's like becoming like closer and closer of like a close friendship because John Economos is kind of a dweeb and then you have like Amelia Harcourt's doing her own shit. So it's like I feel like these guys would be like kind of, and then Vigilante's fucking weird. So I feel like them being like kind of besties would be kind of funny or fun at least, or more interesting with each character.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Also, we were getting a look at again Hawkgirl and Green Lantern. All right, we've got the Justice Gang. I wonder if we're getting those two that we're actually maybe also gonna get Mr. Terrific. I do wonder if we're gonna get Mr. Terrific. Manus Time saying, love the fact that there's some elements that makes this world feel lived in. Daniel Brooks' character's girlfriend works at Jitters, a location we saw in the Superman set pictures. We did, that's true. And in Cleveland, for example. Yeah, so they're really building out a whole universe. There's going to be these entire brands of like stores and, restaurants and ice cream shops and stuff that we will get to see. We've got a bunch more looks, of course, at the character that Michael Rooker's playing, John, that you mentioned. For those of us who, because you missed this completely when you first saw the trailer. You're like, what, where? And I was like, right there. And I guess we now know that photo that James Gunn posted of that, the back of this shaman-like character. I guess that was Michael Rooker. So I'm sure
because he does have the red in
Yeah.
his head. That's a Sargon the Sorcerer kind of thing.
Mhm.
So maybe it's like a
he's bleeding,
very.
though. I don't know what that is actually.
So maybe it's like a very different version of that character. So maybe.
Yeah, this was one of the more impressive shots, certainly from the VFX and just overall visual composition standpoint. Definitely the most magical part of the whole trailer. We don't know a lot about the character, but hey, it's Michael Rooker. I'm sure Liz would appreciate this because she's a big fan and she got to meet him one time. And yeah, the man. What did she say? Did she say he was either going blind or he was going deaf? I forgot which of the two it was, but basically he doesn't do a lot of projects anymore because he's had some health complications in recent years. But James Gunn, of course, and he's mentioned it. Anytime James Gunn gives him a call, he always picks up. So one of the regulars again in the show. So I'm glad that we got to see him. In terms of some other stuff, John, I asked this question already, but I guess it's worth a mention again. Do you think that quantum unfolding storage area is the key for how Peacemaker enters the DCU, or do you think they're just gonna say this Peacemaker has always been in this DCU, and that's because if they just say he entered the DCU, then that, plain and simple just says, okay, so he was in the DCEU and then he entered the DCU. Or do you think they're going to go with what James Gunn has been sort of hinting at, that, whatever they mention is canon, whatever they don't is not? Like, what route are they ultimately going to take?
I don't think it's like he's going to like fucking just enter into the new like DCU and like, oh, he's just gonna be there like, oh, conveniently like the old Peacemaker like died and then he comes in and can take over his life, like fuck a full on Rick and Morty sketch. So I don't think they're gonna do that. I think it's just like this version that we see in the trailer for the most part, because we do see a different logo at one point. the one introduced, like him going to the Maxwell. That's the DCU version. We're just getting the DCU version, and then maybe as sort of a gag, he'll meet the DCEU version at the very most. But I think they'll touch on multiversal aspects, but I don't think it's like going to be a major thing with like DCEU stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. It's just a part of me wishes that because I do enjoy some parts of the DCEU that I wish did not go away, and maybe that keeps the door open for that a little bit. So I'm not that I'm like a big Snyder cultist or anything. I just thought there were some good parts of that world that, but then again, James Gunn could keep those around, like he's mentioned that already. But hey, speaking of Guy Gardner being in the show now, which was a surprise, we did not know he was going to be in the show. Maybe like you said, it's only a small part, but that means he's now going to be in 3 consecutive, pretty much, for all we know. He might even show up in Supergirl. But Nathan Fillion, he's going to be busy. He's in Superman, and now we know he's in Peacemaker, and he's going to be in Lantern. So, I mean, I know my theory right now is that he is the reason why the Lantern show exists, that Guy Gardner is going to end up getting himself killed, and that's why the other 2 Lanterns are going to get into that whole investigation. But at least until then, Nathan Fillion, he's getting his money's worth, and so is James Gunn, bringing one of his best friends in and giving him the bowl cut. Figure Drawing asking you, John, are you excited for Peacemaker Season 2 now that you have seen the trailer? What are your thoughts on that, John? Are you excited? Does this trailer do it for you? Like, did it give you that excitement that you were looking for?
I'm reasonably excited. I think I think that we're going to be getting something better than what I thought was with season 1. I think it's going to be its own thing, very much so. Like it's going to be I mean, I agree with 2 of those. The Boys is not, I would say, like, yeah, The Boys is like worse than Peacemaker easily. But I think I'm more excited for this. Hopefully it's maybe I can get used to the humor a little bit more, seeing what it can do, get used to it more, and then but also be into whatever they have in mind. So I think I'll like it a little bit more. Hopefully I like what seems to be going on, and the fact that it's part of like a nice brand new universe might help me like this a bit more. So there's that as well. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm not like, oh my god, I need to see this tomorrow, but like I'm reasonably excited.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Figure Drawing and JC, by the way, JC, hello, JC, and Hunter Iggy in the chat. But Figure Drawing and JC are going at it in the chat about the merits of the show. I would say this show, that's the first season at least, was one of the best things that the DCEU ever did. One of the best things James Gunn has ever done. Thoroughly entertaining, very much out there, took all the risks and was thoroughly rewarded for it. So yeah, I mean, it's only 1 season if you're comparing to The Boys. Like The Boys has been around for a lot longer, so I don't know. It's not the sample size isn't the same, but I would lean on the side of like you can like both. You don't have to prefer one or the other. But yeah, JC's opinion, or in JC's opinion, best superhero show has to be Daredevil. That is the blueprint. I would not entirely agree with that, but you know what? That's certainly one of the best ones. And JC,
I don't
by the
think
way,
that's.
if you are,
I mean, saying that is the blueprint is like putting your shit in a box. That's why I hate. I know this is gonna sound weird coming from me. That's why I hate it when Kevin Feige's like, we watch Superman the movie before every fucking Marvel production. It's like that's fucking stupid because then you're gonna make the same movie over and over again. You're not getting different genres. You're not getting different character development. You're not getting different ideas and tones and concepts. You're just getting the same movie over and over again. And if Daredevil's the blueprint, okay, great. Daredevil's the blueprint for like a grounded street level show. But if like, oh yeah, Daredevil's the blueprint for what's like a fucking like all-star squadron, or what is it, Squadron Supreme show, like that's not fair because it's like 2 entirely separate things that should have separate tones and ideas. Now, you can be inspired by the things that Daredevil did because Daredevil is a great show. Even even the lackluster season 2 is like okay. It still had the first 4 episodes were still great, and you still have seasons 1 and 2 which were fantastic. But one thing should not be the blueprint for everything. That's just a very dumb way of doing things because that's not, I personally believe that's not incredibly smart. Like that to me, it's just that's why people are claiming superhero fatigue because they're like, we're sick of the same thing, the same look, the same quips, the same jokes, the same character interactions, the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I think maybe Daredevil can be the blueprint for a Blade show. Like they're kind of like similar vibes. They have a tiny bit of supernatural mysticism, but for the most part are very grounded. But like Daredevil shouldn't be the inspiration for a Superman show. That just wouldn't make sense because
well,
it just doesn't work. That's just not the character.
We'll have to leave that there for now.
Yeah,
before we can debate that to eternity. But I did want to quickly ask you, John, who has the better pet, Superman or Peacemaker?
I'm a dog guy. I gotta go with Krypto. I'm sorry. I love Eagly. He was our boy, but like, I'm sorry. I love dogs. Like, I have a dog. Like, of course I'm gonna say the dog. Like, even though he's a bit of a rascal, I gotta go with Krypto. I'm sorry, Eagly. I love you, but Krypto is the superior.
Dude, not
pet.
many people have an Eagly as a pet, so definitely very bespoke.
I'm pretty sure he's breaking all kinds of laws by having it, but I mean, that would have been, what, missed opportunity. Like that's why Peacemaker went to prison because he had a bald eagle as a pet. Like it wasn't something I don't know what was specifically revealed, but that would have been like ironic. Like this guy who's like, it's like Al Capone going to fucking prison for tax evasion. It's like this dude who
they gotta catch him somehow.
But it's like, oh, this guy who killed him and all this other shit. No, he goes to prison because he had a bald eagle as a pet because it's illegal. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, Nico says that they both look good. Peacemaker and Superman have good pets. Man of Time saying Peacemaker easily. Krypto jumped on Superman when he's injured. Come on now. I mean, it's a dog. Like they do that. Krypto can fly in the movie, right? Yes. Figure drawing. Krypto can fly. Figure drawing was saying or asking, would you guys rather be Eagly or Krypto? I think if I had to pick, I would pick Krypto. Way cuter. And if I had to be one, I would be Krypto because then I could fly. Main Man fam saying we had a bald eagle nest near our house. It landed in our backyard once. It was huge. We lived on a river. Wow. Yeah, dude, bald eagles are actually pretty big. I feel like the eagle that they have in the show is like maybe even smaller than what the average bald eagle is. But anyway, those things they're huge. Now, of course, John, if you are a fan of Peacemaker, they are releasing some merchandise alongside the show, so you can get your hands on a brand new fanny pack. We're back, MFers. This fanny pack looks fun. It's got a different version of the logo. You get the Peace logo in there, with the 2 guns, of course, very specific brand of Peace. And then they've got this new logo, this new version of the logo, John. It's a Peacemaker, the series. With the DC Studios logo on top of it. I was kind of curious. I mean, it's not a big deal, but obviously that's a bit different. I mean, the version of the logo they use in the trailer is like the curved one, but then you of course have this other version of it.
I mean, I can imagine that it's probably like Peacemaker, the series, instead of Peacemaker. Like maybe that's their way of differentiating between the DCEU version and the DCU.
Oh, like Superman the movie, and then okay, I can see that. Well, you guys can be rocking.
It still would have been awesome if they called it the Peacemaker.
The Peacemaker. Yeah, that would be great. I'm the Peacemaker. I know that's not.
I'm the beekeeper.
All right. Well, you know what? That's all the Peacemaker chatter we got for now, but I'm sure we'll be talking a whole hell of a lot more about him in the near future. We do have a few minutes left on the show, John, so we're going to use that time for the Q&A session that I've been promising all week. We do this once a week. We do it on a Friday, and today just happens to be a Friday. So, John, let's bring in those questions, and let's talk about them. Let's answer those questions from the folks that are in the comments, and we want to show you our appreciation. The first comment, theory that we brought in is from JB. I don't know if JB was watching today live, but JB is usually watching the show, and he catches up after the fact too. He was saying, it is interesting that Dairy Queen is getting a Superman promotion, which we talked about on the show yesterday. As you might remember, Dairy Queen was featured. Dairy Queen was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, doing the flashback sequence of Peter Quill's parents in Missouri. So James Gunn must really love DQ. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's Blizzards. Hello, that beats them for a lot of shit. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a good Frosty, but like, I can't wait until the Dairy Queen, the confetti cake batter, cookie dough, whatever the fuck it is. I can't wait.
It was birthday batter, cookie dough, whatever. There's a specific.
It was like cake batter, cookie dough, or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
God, now I want DQ right now.
Monique is like, I did not have fanny packs on my fashion bingo card for this year, but I guess they're back. Yeah, it seems like it. But yeah, thank you, JB, for that comment. Peter Quill's parents in Missouri, yeah, they did have DQ there, and now they have DQ. And James Gunn must be a fan. I know I'm a fan of DQ, so I appreciate it. Liz appreciates it. I'm sure John appreciates it too. Elite Easy E, he's watching, I think, right now. He was saying John Campea has a video called Potential Company Split for Warner Brothers Discovery, where he shares his opinion on that situation. And then he continues to say, at about 2 minutes in, he shares a graphic which shows where he thinks the different parts will end up. Good point. We did talk about this yesterday, and I kind of explained it to you guys a little bit. Basically, what Warner Brothers is trying to do, Warner Brothers Discovery, that is, the parent company, because Warner Brothers, like when we refer to them colloquially, they're like the studio that make the movies. And there's obviously Warner Brothers Games, there's like Warner Brothers Animations, so on and so forth. So Warner Brothers Discovery, the big company that David Zaslav is in charge of, they're basically trying to, so it's a little overblown that they're splitting the company in half. They're not really doing that just yet. What they have done is they have restructured internally. So basically they've moved all of their linear networks, as in TV networks, that includes TNT, TBS, True TV, basically all the stuff that you would get on cable, onto one side of the company. Anything basically that's a loss-making part of the company, they've moved into that side of the company. And then they've got their studios, all the big studios. You got DC Studios, Warner Brothers Pictures, New Line Cinema, and all their other big HBO. Everything that makes money, everything that they consider premium is on the other side. And the reason why they did that is something similar to what Comcast has been doing. In fact, Comcast is further along because they've already spun off the part of their company that would include USA Network, Sci-Fi, CNBC, MSNBC. Bravo is not included in there because Bravo actually makes money, so that's still part of NBC Universal. But they also have Fandango and Rotten Tomatoes. All of that stuff is now part of a company called Versant. They're going to have a new HQ in New York. They're going to have to restaff up their news division for MSNBC because that's no longer part of NBC Universal. But then everything else from NBC, like Peacock and like the Olympics and stuff, and NBC the network, that is all still, it's like part of NBC Universal. Obviously Universal Pictures, Focus Features. They're doing this because nobody watches TV anymore, so they want to, on a business standpoint, spin off the part of their company that is making a loss on a business level. So basically, Warner Brothers is doing something similar internally to prepare for a potential split. It hasn't officially happened yet, though. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. And it will be potentially one way for Warner Brothers to get rid of some debt. We don't know how they're going to split up the debt between the two potential companies in the split, but I guess that could be one way to get rid of some of the debt, laden it onto the company that you're spinning off. But that was a question mark, and we're not going to know that until they actually do the split. Now, Caleb Underwood with the other comment saying 20 things I hate about you, 30 things I hate about you. Also recast Jared Leto as Heath Ledger. John, this is from the other day we were talking about. They're doing a 10 Things I Hate About You sequel. What are your thoughts on this comment from Caleb?
I think it's funny. Like, it's just like, I know there are like 10 things I hate about this and that and this. I think it would be even funnier if it was like 20 things I hate about you and 30 things. It's because like normally it would be like 11 things or 12 things, like Ocean's 11, 12, 13. But I think it would be funny if it was like 20 30. Just like go like make that like 10 jump. And I don't know. I think that could be kind of funny. I don't know about the Jared Leto thing, but
Yeah, well, that's a Caleb thing. If you know, you know. Elite Easy. I don't know where Caleb is today though. But Elite Easy is saying Superman with new ice fisting action. Great. Yeah, that's from the toy that we had with like the ice. It's weird. I don't know why his hands have ice and they don't just give you an attachment for his eyes, where the or not eyes, but like his mouth. Okay, that would be worse. Never mind. That's probably what they thought, but then they came up with the worst solution. So whatever, or equally as bad solution. If you get yourself that Superman action figure, it's got the attachments for the hands, which look like ice, which like he punches you so fast it freezes the. I don't know. I can't come up with an explanation. Maybe somebody who made the toy does. Kyle is always watching the show, whether he's live or watching us after the fact, saying Five Ash doesn't have Five Ash is in the chat. Come on, man. Five Ash doesn't have style. Those shoes are fly. Take my money. He's talking about the Jason Tatum, the Tatum 3s that came out, which have got the Superman colorway. So good on you, Five Ash. Hosea, by the way, loves 10 Things I Hate About You. That's their favorite rom-com. JC saying, I really don't care for the humor of Peacemaker has. I don't know how Green Lantern is going to be a grounded show. They should have went with a JLA Dark and follow Zatanna and Constantine. I'm sure they have plans for those. I mean, Keanu Reeves still wants to do one, so like a sequel to Constantine, that is. John, what do you think? Are those shoes fly?
I think they looked pretty cool.
The
I
Tatum
think they
3s?
looked. I would get a pair if I didn't have weird fucking feet where I need to get special fucking sneakers and shit like
you know
that.
what I hope that he actually wins a game. Jason Tatum does for the Celtics wearing those shoes, because so far he hasn't won both of them in the series against the Knicks. Not to mention the shoes look more like the Knicks jerseys.
Five Ash catching strays. Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry. Hey, look, Five Ash. In my defense, John came up with these, not me. So I will fully give John credit for picking that comment. I know we have a bunch more already from you guys, so we'll definitely bring those in next week. And you know, if you guys want to have your comment featured on the show from the previous videos,
Hosea, I was watching a random Superman video and I saw Five Ash hating on it. LOL. Again.
Yeah, it looks like he spreads the hate around a little bit. I mean, look, but Five Ash is a very specific taste, so we get it. Figure drawing saying Constantine movie shootout. Yeah, well, there's probably gonna be, you know, at least one version of Constantine coming out, because Keanu Reeves seems very intent on doing a sequel, but whether he's gonna be in the DCU or not, I'm pretty sure that's gonna be an Elseworld story. With that though, John, I think we have come to the end of the week, and this episode at least of DCU Daily. If there's any breaking news over the weekend, we can always jump on and do a special, but until then, until Monday, and next week we'll have Liz back on the show. I think we might have Bridget on at some part of the week as well. So if you guys are, you know, have been here long enough, you might remember Bridget. We used to be on the show a lot last year, and she hasn't been around for a bit, but you know, she'll be making her return next week. Of course, like I said, Fiona was probably watching this. Moderator Fiona, I'm sure, will be in the chat at some point, but Liz will be on the show next week, and John and I will be too. So, John, anything else you want to add to it before we sign off for the week?
Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things.
Yeah.
And
Kyle just made it. Sorry, Kyle. Yeah. You're gonna have to rewind, man. We were just finishing up.
We just did your comment.
We just did your comment. Like, go back and check it
out. Peacemaker season 2, Superman coming soon. Very exciting. So I got my blue on. It doesn't have a logo, but I do have the blue.
I didn't have a blue shirt today, but you know what? I'll go change into one later.
We have blue and red on right now, so like that
there you go.
Works.
Superman.
You have the vest, and that's all that matters. So
there's a bit of yellow in that painting, so there you go. That's Peacemaker representation. Well, with that, guys, we'll leave you there, and we'll see you on Monday for another episode of DCU Daily. Until then, have a great weekend, and go out there, watch a movie, support your local movie theater. We'll see you next time on another episode of DCU Daily.